Today, we stand on the doorstep of delivering the most sweeping tax overhaul in more than 30 years. It's about making America's economy stronger than ever by delivering more jobs, fairer taxes, and bigger paychecks across this nation.
In 2003, Republicans offered a tax cut of an additional $1 trillion, and in 2005, they offered a repatriation tax holiday. Each time, they promised job growth. However, they took us to the casino each time without a win. So why do we think that we'll have a win with this proposal?
Welcome back to The World Over. That was the chair of the House Ways and Means Committee, Republican Congressman Kevin Brady, and ranking member of that committee, Democrat Richard Neal, talking tax reform earlier this week. As the parties decide what stays in the plan and what goes, there's a tax credit in jeopardy of being eliminated. And this could hurt families, the adoption tax credit. Joining me now is the author of that credit, New Jersey Congressman and friend of the program, Congressman Chris Smith, joining us from the Capitol. Congressman, thank you for being there. I want to start right in.
Raymond, great to be on with you.
You introduced a $5,000 refundable adoption credit in Congress in 1990. Then it was reintroduced in the following years. It eventually became law with bipartisan support. Why are your colleagues in the House suggesting its repeal?
Well, I think they're making a mistake, but it's a mistake that's on the road towards being rectified. Chairman Brady now has an amendment that would restore the adoption tax credit, which was a Republican idea. I mean, I started in 1989, introduced it in 1990. It became part of the Contract for America, and Newt Gingrich was very much a part of that, as well as the rest of the leadership. It was bipartisan, but we took the lead on it. The Democrats did not mark that up and bring it to the floor when they had control of the House. And then Jim DeMint doubled it to $10,000, and now it's about $13,400. And it makes all the difference in the world for people who are trying, particularly middle-income people, to put together a plan to adopt a child, the lawyers' fees and all of that, or children. And it also is a rescue for those who are dealing with overseas adoptions, which increasingly people are doing.
Right. Congressman Smith, about 135,000 children are adopted in the United States each year. So that credit ends up being a drop in the bucket. But Speaker Ryan argues that the tax credit goes predominantly to higher income individuals and won't affect middle or lower earning families. Your thoughts?
Well, again, it's in the process of being taken out of the bill, which is good. But there's other steps in this legislation, in the Senate, of course, on the House floor. But it begins to phase out at about $200,000 for both husband and wife, and is out completely by about $250,000. So many of those who are taking advantage of this are doing it who are, middle income and upper middle income. And again, it's all about that upfront, non-refundable costs, the lawyer fees and everything else. And overseas, it could be $30,000 or $40,000. To bring that child home. So why not have their backs? And I do think we're going to turn this around, and we're in the process of doing it right now.
Some of the data I've read suggests that 60% of the families who do adopt children are actually from those lower and middle income brackets. So it actually might help lower and middle income folks.
Oh, it definitely will. And I would add to that when I originally introduced the bill, it was a refundable credit so that people, even lower on the tiers of the economic ladder, would have the ability to put together an adoption plan so that they could bring children or a child into their loving home.
Congressman Smith, in a recent interview, you said that you would vote no to the GOP tax overhaul if that adoption tax credit were dropped. Is that still standing? I mean, is that your position still?
Oh, without a doubt. But again, we're in the process of having it taken out.
Okay.
Chairman Brady has what we call a manager's amendment that gets rid of the repeal.
Okay.
So that's a great step forward. But frankly, there were some other things wrong with it, including state and local taxes, which would be highly hurtful to states like my own in New Jersey. So I will vote no. And I'm a believer in tax cuts. People are overtaxed. I voted for the Reagan tax cuts, the Bush tax cuts.
Okay.
They have a stimulative impact. More money goes into people's pockets where it belongs. So it is very hard to be in this position because I do believe that we need tax reform and a significant tax cut. But we got to get it right.
Congressman, the Senate is marking up its version of the tax reform. Have the elections this week and the Democratic victories hastened or strengthened the will among Republicans to get something done?
There's no doubt we need tax reform and we need to get this done, but it has to be done right. I would say, I look at my district, Raymond. Hillary Clinton got 42% in my district. Our gubernatorial candidate, Kim Guadagno, got 42% in my district. That's almost identical. I mean, it's a little percentage, 42 and change. I see no change from one year to the next from what Trump got in my district and what Kim Guadagno, our lieutenant governor, got. So, that's a good bellwether. I have a lot of ticket splitters in my district, and yet the outcomes were almost identical from a year ago. Meanwhile, I took my district with 65% of the vote.
Let's talk about this tax plan particularly. I know both President Trump and Speaker Ryan have said, look, this is for the middle class. But 90% of taxpayers are in the upper income area of the tax code. So why are they getting an increase? This seems like a break from the Reagan tax cuts that you voted for.
Well, Raymond, Bush especially, but previous tax cuts that we've done under Reagan and then especially under Bush and Bush, they pushed more people out of the obligation to pay federal income taxes. So the threshold when taxes have to be paid kept going up higher and higher and higher as millions of people no longer had a federal income tax liability. They had other tax liabilities, but not that one. So a lot of lower income people are already, and I think it's a good thing, excluded from having to pay because they're at least able to afford it.
So then you support this idea. I mean, you see, it seemed the governing philosophy behind the Reagan cuts was that you give everybody a tax cut across the board, and those upper income earners who are the drivers of industry and investment, with that cut, you get reinvestment and more jobs. It seems the Republicans have abandoned that philosophy, right?
Well, I hope not, because I do believe we need to lower the rates. Bracket creep has hurt a lot of people who are paying more than they should. The alternative minimum tax was supposed to be for the very rich. Well, that's no longer the case. A lot of people are caught in that one. And again, our corporate tax at 35% or so, we ought to lower that. Maybe 20 is not the ideal number, but we need to lower it to help our corporations create jobs. It's all about job creation and small business, which is the engine of job creation. Giving them a tax cut, and I come from a small business background, just incentivizes to hire more people, grow your business, rather than just write another check to Uncle Sam.
Congressman, I want to talk about a few other issues before we run out of time. You have endorsed something called the Conscience Protection Act. Now, this touches on medical workers who are asked to take part in abortions. I thought the federal government already allowed them to not take part in those abortions if they feel morally compelled to do otherwise. Why do we need this new act?
Well, Raymond, great question. We have three major conscience protections laws. The most recent and the best of all, in a sense, is the Weldon Amendment, named after Dave Weldon of Florida. The problem with that law, though, which provides that protection, it doesn't have a right of private action. So all over the country, we have hospital personnel being coerced into performing abortions will then have to take the risk of saying no to their higher-ups. So we had 3 women who were nurses who were told to participate. And one of those ladies who was told at Mount Sinai to participate in a 22-week gestational baby dismemberment, and she had to piece together the parts of that baby. She still has nightmares. Kathy DeCarlo just is, I mean, it broke her. And she was under threat of losing her job, conflicted, and all of that, and now a tremendous amount of hurt. She went to court, and she was told, you have no right of private action. You have no standing, even though you're the aggrieved party. This new bill, the mainstay, the linchpin, is to provide that private right of action. In California, Governor Jerry Brown, who's at the Vatican, walking around with the cardinals and doing with Sanchez Serrando and others, he has imposed on the Catholic Church and all faith-based entities in California that they have to provide abortion on demand in their insurance policies, which is not found in New Jersey, it's not found in most states, but it is found in California, it's found in Oregon and New York. So this would give the church the ability to fight back and say, we want no part, no complicity in dismembering and killing unborn children. Governor Brown, shame on you. How dare you do this?
Before I let you go, Congressman, tell me about this Congo hearing that you had today. People don't realize what's happening in that country.
Raymond, I've been to the DR Congo in the past. It's where some 4 million people died from bloodshed. It's a country about 100 million, the size, 2/3 the size of Western Europe. Joseph Kabila, who's the president, very corrupt, he's been putting off when the election will be. It was supposed to be now. Now it's going to be next year, December 28, 2018. And the hostilities, the use of his military against people who are picketing, there's already 3.8 million people, that's a lot of people, who are internally displaced, and many more who are going across the border as refugees. The Catholic Church is playing a major central role in the DR Congo to try to get the election up and running and proper. They put together a very good agreement, which Kabila has then punted. Our ambassador, Nikki Haley, was just there. I met with her yesterday, and I had the hearing today. It's on C-SPAN if anybody wants to watch it on the replay. The loss of life, the rapes, the crimes against humanity are proliferating, and if we don't see a tourniquet on this real soon, it's only going to get worse. So, we're asking for sanctions against Kabila, personal sanctions against him and his henchmen. Under the Global Magnitsky Act, we have that capacity, and I think Trump and Nikki Haley just being there, they're very, very focused on this, because the loss of life could be even worse than it already is.
Congressman Chris Smith, thank you for being here. We will leave it there.